Which I love, but then I'm like, you're gonna kill yourself. All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're just about on time, time at 6:08. Got a handful of people online who are in the multiverse, and they're seeing us via this nifty little owl device. So it has a 360 camera and speakers and microphones. So we're going to be recording this so that the commission, those who aren't here, are able to follow the conversation if they wish. We'll be able to get participation from the folks online. I think the most important thing is that it's a great piece of technology, but no technology is perfect. So if we're speaking, try to speak clearly, enunciate as actor people, film people, enunciation, I'm sure is well within your wheelhouse, and try to have one person speak at a time as much as possible. I'm going to get us started here. I'm August Braniff. I'm the director of the Grant County Economic Development Department. This meeting is called by the Grant County Commission, or they directed me to have y'all show up here and get your feedback. So that's just some quick context. I'll get us started with a little bit of introduction, some norms and context. We'll turn it over then to Via from the Moab Monument Valley Film Commission to do a bit of a 101 on what the Film Commission is and does. It might be old hat for many of you, but it might be a good reminder for others. We'll have Derek speak a little bit, Derek Mellis from the Utah Film Commission, touch a little bit about the state's role and how they interact with the local film commission. And we have Brian Hunnings from Red Cliff Lodge and Elise Parks from Red Cliff Foundation. Speak a little bit about the vision for the foundation and its future and potential engagement with the film commission going forward. Then we should have about at least an hour for public comment and conversation. So what I'm going to do is go off the sign-in sheet. You indicated, yes, you'd like to speak. I'll go through all of those people first, make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak at least once, and then we'll do hand raising and just try to make it so it's one at a time and not speaking over each other and all that good stuff. So I'll get us kind of rolling here. I'm going to go over a little bit of expectations for today's discussion, a brief overview of initial input that we received via the survey we put out, and questions that we're hoping to address in the initial presentations, but mainly to clarify that these are the questions that we heard from the local stakeholders as we're having some dialogue. And then a description of next steps. So, expectation for today's discussion, we're going to have some honest conversation, I think. And so if you're sharing your opinion, we do want you to be honest. We want to understand where y'all are coming from, and hear that out. However, we really want to emphasize the use of I statements that hear your perspective rather than you or they. It's less helpful for us to hear how someone else is doing and how do you feel about something from your perspective, right? Throw other people under the bus in that kind of way. So, and then please be kind. Everybody's here because they care about our community and its future. However, if you do have a question, please ask it during this forum. We would like to refrain questions and discourse until we complete the initial presentations. If you'd like to ask a question or submit a comment, indicate so on the sign-in form. We're going to make sure the speaking time is limited to 3 minutes per person. I'm not expecting everybody to speak for 3 minutes, but just making sure that there's some rules here to keep order. And then I'm going to make sure that everyone is able to speak at least once if they would like to. So we're going to go everybody speaking once, and then we'll go back to there. What are we doing here? So the point of today's conversation is to gauge the Moab film industry stakeholders, everyone here, opinion and gather input on the following question. Should the Grand County Commission move forward with the consideration of a proposal to move the Moab Monument Valley Film Commission to the Red Cliff Foundation? It's pretty narrow in scope, and other things I'm sure will come up today, but just to remind everyone why we're here. For the sake of today's conversation, this is about organizational structure, community benefit, and allocation of resources. And just for the sake of today's conversation, if it doesn't, if in the future it doesn't go to the foundation, it'll stay with the county. So, waxing hypothetical about all the potential ways that the film commission could exist, we're gonna try to leave those for a future conversation. What did we hear from folks? We had 32 people fill out the survey. Many of y'all are here today and are online. There's a mix of folks who are in favor, opposed to this concept, or undecided. And several questions were brought up that we hope to address in the initial presentations. So first, what is the Film Commission and what value does it provide to the local film industry and stakeholders? Maybe we'll address this question. What is the Rentless Foundation and how would the Film Commission fit into it? Brian will do the rest to address this question. What added value would putting the Film Commission in the foundation provide to local film industry and stakeholders? Again, those folks, how is this not, this is kind of a direct on the base question, but a question a lot of people ask, right? How is this proposal not just a money grab or a conflict of interest for Rentless Lodge? Will other private entities also benefit from this change in structure? How would public interest and oversight be maintained if the Film Commission was managed by the Rentless Foundation? And then what is the relationship between our local and state film commission? How do or should they work together? And as we have this discussion, I should be clear that myself as department head, as a county commissioner, there's not a pre-decided notion of where this should go. We really do want to hear folks' opinion, bring concerns, questions, excited statements of support. Any of those are all very welcome here today. Really briefly, how does the current structure of the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission work? It's currently within my department, the Grant County Economic Development Department. I really should say it's the County Commission's Department, which I have the pleasure to serve. And it's funded through transient room tax. So that is a sales tax that's on lodging, all lodging nights, all lodging stays that are under 30 days. So that's campgrounds, Airbnbs, hotels. The county taxes that at 4.25%. So 4.25% of all lodging spend is captured in that fund. Within that fund, 37% can be spent on a slew of promotional type activities. Of that, 1/5 can be spent on establishing and promoting recreation and film production conventions. So that's 7.5% of its TRT revenue towards those uses. 7.5% of all TRT adds up to about $600,000. And so as there's a variety of uses under recreation film production conventions, including responsible recreation program managed by the Grant County Active Materials and Transportation Department, pre-existing obligations that the county has to support youth recreation in the Moab area transit pilot program. It means that basically it's not a endless amount of money that could go towards the film commission. It's competing with other uses, right? In 2023, $150,000 from the Grant County budget went towards the film commission. The balance went to other programs. So one of the conversations that is going to be a part of this is what is the benefit that a potential shift in organization could provide? Well, a lot of that is resources. My understanding, and I can't speak on behalf of the commission, but to go to contribute more from the Grant County Commission towards the Film Commission above and beyond that $150,000 seems relatively unlikely. So how can we increase the amount of support going towards the Film Commission and its activities? That is one potential argument for this. Next step. So the outcome of today's meeting will be brought to the Grant County Commission. The commissioners will consider whether or not to pursue the consideration of a proposal to move the Film Commission to the foundation. So I should be clear that there's no hard and fast proposal that's on the table. There's not a budget in place. There's not a scope of work that is in place. It's an idea, it's a concept, it's a potential way forward. And the commission really wants to understand where the local industry lands on this kind of concept. Is the Film Commission providing to them the needs that they desire, and how can we move forward with this conversation in general? At the end of the meeting, there's going to be a short survey to capture, obviously you can put input at the front side of the meeting, but provide more information. So for those with devices, whether it's a laptop or computer, there's gonna be a QR code on the screen. Don't need this now, I'll bring it back later. And online, I'll drop this form into the chat. And then I also have paper surveys that I can distribute at that point. So we're gonna try to hold the last 15 minutes of the meeting for completing that information. And with that, we are 2.5 minutes from my schedule, and I'll pick it up with you guys.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Dan. Where I can see everybody yet?
Yeah, here, let me just bring it up. Right there. Just let me know about that.
Okay, I'm gonna do a lot of reading because I have a lot to say in a little bit of time. Before I begin my slideshow presentation, let me say a couple of things. Here's my pitch. I have worked in the film industry for over 20 years prior to becoming a film commissioner, almost 8 years ago. I know this industry inside and out and everything. This presentation you're about to see has a lot of words, but also a fair amount of visuals to share because I am a creative. I'm not a mathematician, an accountant, or a politician, and I'm not normally a presenter of science. Yes, I know how to do math, create a budget, I know how to run line items. I ran my own wardrobe departments and film commission budgets for years, but now I see the world is through pictures, through photographs, paintings, and the very real landscape that surrounds me that changes every day and every hour. That is how I initially present this piece of the planet to the people who call or email or text, who want to inquire about how to make movies, commercials, or high fashion editorials from scare. I try to see it through their eyes before they even know what they are seeing, because this place is real. It is not CGI. I am a collaborator, thriving in what it means to work together to make something happen, and solve problems and a checker off of boxes on lists that need to be accomplished, as is every person who works in the industry of film. Together, we put the pieces of puzzles together to create and tell a visual story. Hundreds of people in puzzles and pieces for a common cause. Some stories last for days, some last for a lifetime. I love what I do, and I love the people I do it for. This community, this city, this place I call home. I would like to see the Film Commission go to the Red Cliffs Foundation. I want it to grow and expand and receive the support it needs to do that. Let me be clear. If the Film Commission were to become part of the Red Cliffs Foundation, the essential functions of the Film Commission stay the same. The move would mean taking the entity of the Film Commission and moving it to a place where it would get the support it needs, and via that, the community would get the benefits of its long-standing history of helping facilitate the film industry in this region. Our county commissioner has also been assigned to the board of the nonprofit, just so you know. I want to thank you all for being here and thank you for your time and for your interest in the future of the Moab County Film Commission. And off we go, slideshow. From history, with many hundreds of productions having been filmed here since the 1940s, film is a part of Moab's cultural core history. The Moab Movie Committee was established in 1949 by George White, then owner of White's Ranch, what is now Red Cliffs Lodge. George persuaded John Ford to come film in the Moab area after years of filming some of his most memorable movies in the Monument Valley area since the mid-1920s. The movie committee was formed as a way to help facilitate all of the production's needs, as the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission still does to this day. Next year, the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission will celebrate its 75th anniversary. 75 years of filming history. That is no small feat. People in this room that had a big part of that, and I thank them. Especially as it continues to maintain the title of the longest ongoing film commission in the world. It's time to celebrate, and I have a lot of ideas how to do that next year. But now, with over 300 film commissions across the globe, it's still beneath that it all started right here in Moab, Utah. Next, here's for the essential job functions with some pictures to go along with it. The Film Commission serves as the liaison between the film industry and the local community at large, promoting the area as a filming destination for the utilization of its local locations, its local crew, talent, and support services. The Moab Film Commission represents Grant and San Juan counties, facilitating the interests of both. That's a little blurb of the film industry, but go to the Film Commission, and then all those things happen. There is no handbook for film commissioners, but there are online classes with AFCI University to complete certified film commissioner status. There are no 2 days that are alike and no 2 requests that are alike. The purpose, again, is to provide traditional film commission services, including a location, photo, video library, updated local crew listings, and scouting services. The Film Commission maintains a no favoritism rule when it comes to who a film production might want to hire. That is the reason for the production directory, the go-to tool for every production looking to hire locally. If a local resident of Grand or San Juan County has at least 1 credit in the industry, they can be listed in the directories in as many categories as there are in filmmaking, which are a lot. If you ever look at the credits of a movie. Any business or hotel that is film friendly and is in these 2 counties can be listed in support services as well. The Film Commission does not do the hiring. The Film Commission facilitates whatever the production's needs are. The Film Commission also treats every job that inquires about filming you with the same energy and enthusiasm, from small student films to indie features and huge studio features or documentaries. Okay, moving on. The Film Commission serves as a knowledgeable expert in local permitting requirements with all land use agencies, local government entities, and public services. Here is, I think you skipped one. No, yeah, that's it. That's wrong. Okay, back to go. Here's permit related things. It is essential to have someone designated to support these productions to ensure they are following necessary guidelines and understand the filming requirements throughout the many different entities, state parks, national parks, federal lands, tribal lands, and private properties. The state office, the Utah Film Commission, relies heavily on this regional office to regulate, support, and promote this area on behalf of the state of Utah. We'll hear more about that later. This slide number 5, why is it in weird order? Slide number 7. What did I miss?
Gallery.
The one we'll skip back.
Skip back. Go back. Yeah, let's just look at this for a second. Inquiries do start here with the Moab Valley Film Commission Production Inquiry. That is an online form that you fill out when you go to the website. It shows all kinds of stuff, like how, and all the clients can fill it out. Type of production, from commercial to student project to short for music videos. It asks when they start, when they're ending, their projected crew size. Do they want to hire local crew? Hire a Utah crew? Are they seeking an incentive? Their estimated budget and locations of interest. You can see how most of the information all over here on the right-hand side, and permit information is usually the highest requested thing. Up in the top is some of the aggregated information of types of responses, about 93 that came from the summary of that production inquiry the past couple of years. Okay, now we are on to the next one. Let's just say here's the locations gallery. I'm all over the place here. I don't know what's happening here. Yeah, well, this is the locations gallery that is featured on the Film Commission website, as well as the film registration and the directory sign up with the people that I was speaking about. If you have the 1 credit, you live in Grand or San Juan County. Okay. Here we go. We advocate, the Film Commission advocates for the enhancement of state and local incentives for film and creative media production. The Film Commissioner was quoted in February 2021 with this quote: the local, on the Senate floor of the state, the local crew jobs that come for filming, the money that is being spent on hotels, in restaurants, retail, on transportation and vendors brings a large sum of money that continues to revitalize our city, increase the profile of our state, and helps maintain Utah as a filming destination for years to come. The first question that comes up from any large-scale production inquiry is, what is the incentive? There was a film incentive that was passed just after that. It was allowed a lot of film and production to happen in the state of Utah, and we're working on having that continue. We'll have more on that later too. The Film Commission is website administrator for filmmoab.com. The maintenance of the current content, including the human resource databases, the permitting requirements, the locations, and all other relevant content. It is worth checking out. There's pretty pictures on there and a lot of useful information. as well as movie trailers and a printable PDF of film history of the area. Film Commission executes media communications through press releases, web content, social media, interviews to increase public awareness of film and digital media locally and internationally. Film Commission has a Facebook page, Instagram account, Twitter account that it doesn't use very often, and LinkedIn. There's a picture here of the Film Commissioner. I happened to be on Good Things Utah last Friday, which was my first experience with live television. It was gnarly, but I went really well. But I was talking about film history as well as the incentive program that we have now, as well as Kevin Costner kind of mentioned a little bit, and this stakeholder committee was talking about a couple of things. This is just another example of things that the Film Commission does in terms of its social media outlets. The hits is was from AFCI, the Association of Film Commissioners International Week in Los Angeles. I was put on a podcast that was broadcast internationally from the Cannes Film Festival last week. Here's more development and marketing strategy to attract film production internationally and nationally. There was a featured story in the magazine, online and hard copy edition called The Film Verdict, and an ad placement that goes out to a handful of magazines. Film Commission is a representative for film commissions in targeted local community groups and events. Here's a handful of things over the past few years that are kind of fun. There were screenings at Star Hall. We have a number of them coming up again, June 22nd. Developer of Your Home, which was filmed in Utah at Cisco. Super great movie, and there'll be all kinds of other events around that in the past. Sponsorship for Navajo Highways Puppet Show, working with the new filmmakers in Los Angeles, bringing a filmmaker here to show their film and then have a post-screening Q&A. A handful of short film turnaround film competitions to bring the youth of this community to the idea of filmmaking and making movies and giving them prizes and letting them make movies in a short period of time and screen them live at Star Hall. Handful of those. And then some anniversary meetings that we talk about. How am I doing on time? Late?
You're doing okay.
Okay.
You're
I'll make it.
Okay. A representative for film commissions in targeted local community groups and events. That was the representative for the Film Commission in trade shows, film and digital media organization and associations nationally and internationally as able. Picture of the Sundance Film Festival in Sundance, Utah. John Ford Star on Hollywood Boulevard, because I know exactly where it is and I have to see it every time in LA. This room is from the AFCI week back in March. This is a power brunch. And the power brunch was a meeting of heads of production, location managers, producers from small studio productions and giant studio production homes, Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Universal, 20th Century Fox. Everybody in that room was somebody from a studio that we got to mix and mingle with during the power brunch before and afterwards. And then that is a picture of the lovely Derek Mellis from the Utah Film Commission standing next to me in Bogota, Colombia.
And stages, comparison.
And that's a picture of me receiving my certified film commissioner award after 7 years, because I didn't really have the time to go online and take those classes, but I got to receive that in Bogota at the AFCI Symposium. Okay. Work with local officials to promote an understanding of the economic benefit of film and media production activities through the annual reports, data collection, permit information, and lodging spend, as well as maintaining the database to track activity in Grand and San Juan counties for film and media production inquiries, scouting, production days to allow for the calculations of reliable estimates of dollars in the local economy. The data is the hardest information to access, which is extremely important for the functioning and the budget of the Film Commission. We therefore have put together a Moab RAP survey. With that, we get responses as to how much they spend on hotels, or how much they spend production spend wise, You can notice down here that hotel, you can read that far win the horse race in terms of, the amount of money that is spent in the area. Then up at the top is actually a picture from the database, you probably you can't read it because some of those are probably NDAs, but, it's mentioned some of the projects that happened, the type of project, what they were, whether they were distributed yet, or they were just inquiries, when they were open, and the budget. That's all aggregated with the Utah Film Commission because we share a site together. Okay, this is a slide of a handful, I think I have about 12 of production spend from different projects that were in the area starting in 2020. We actually had a handful of jobs shooting here at the time, moving on to a number of others. Approximate is still approximate because the numbers aren't exact, but you can see that in the final two columns off to the side, the approximate local lodging spend for the 12, only the 12 projects that I have listed here was $10,740,087, which equals about close to $500,000 in TRT taxes, and that is just for 12 projects. Again, I'm going to repeat that. Approximate local production spend was 28 million plus. Since it's just some pretty pictures, you can sort of skip through the same thing, has information on how much they spent, how many local crew were hired, what kind of permits and the impact in terms of road days. Onward. More of the same, some pretty stuff from that was shot in the location that I want to move along. This is definitely a rough estimate of the Horizon American Saga film that was here. Rough being that this information has not come out in audit yet, so this is not to be shared. But you can see that the numbers roughly about $10 million in hotels, $2 million in office workspace, site rentals, $450,000 on all locals working as security officers and fire safety officers, $3 million per diem, $1 million people. The rest of it hasn't been broken down, and none of the others have really been broken down either. But I have to say that on the legislative floor, I think it was last week, the amount shown for Granite, San Juan County, and Emory was a bunch of billions more than that, and I can't say that number either. So somewhere it's still rough. We get the audit numbers, we'll know better how much that project happened to abate when it was here for a number of months, and they are coming back, and that's pretty cool. I just want to mention that Bill Winfield, one of our commissioners, was at the state capitol last week in committee meeting with the Utah Film Commissioner Virginia Pierce and other folks in support of a bill that takes away the sunset clause of the rural film incentive and would put it under review every 2 years. So thank you, Bill. Awesome. Film commission, that doesn't look right at all. Don't know what happened. Film commission maintains an active membership with the Association of Film Commissioners International, that is the AFCI, upholds the certification, is a dedicated location managers guild international, LMGI dedicated partner, and a member of Film USA. Moving on. Film USA is how I got the comparables that I was requested for how much a film commissioner should make. Just FYI, we sort of put it together and look at the numbers. They look really, really high here, except from the top where that is, and then lower. There's most of them, the ones listed are nonprofits. There are some county and some city. I kept the state stuff added because there's more people in those offices. But the low end salary average of a film commissioner should be $125,000, and that is just an average. Low end budget of a film commission should be somewhere in the $405,000 range. That's just an average. So anywhere from 100,000 and up to 1.2 million in those numbers. That was all information that I got via the Film USA folks who are film commissioners from the United States. I think I said that. Last but not least, good segue, the information that I collaborate with the Utah Film Commission as a regional resource and liaison, promotes the state of Utah as a local filming location. We share a database, all that information is aggregated, and Derek will talk more about that in his time that I've stolen from him. Go ahead. So there's some pretty pictures, more pretty pictures, and that's me driving off into the sunset. But not really, because that's a key commercial. Thank you all for your time. Yes. And now moving on to their,
I'll leave this up for a
That one,
yeah.
the one before that. Guys, I'm getting way underpaid.
It's true.
Next day. You go for it, yeah, we do, collect data for the state. So my name's Derek Nellis. I'm the, production manager for the Utah Film Commission. As of just a few weeks ago, I'm celebrating my 16th year with the Film Commission. And thanks. We're in office, unlike Vegas of office of 1, we have an office of 7, but 5 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees right now. There's Virginia Pierce, Dr. Roger, and figurehead, and then of course Christina Martin, who does all our communications, marketing, does all the stuff that you do on social media, but it's just one dedicated person dealing with media and all the other things that you do in media. And then we have Melissa Jackson, who's our office manager and admin that helps keeping, the office running and all of us on task. And then Carly Mahas, who's my right hand, sort of my she's the production coordinator for the office. And then we have 2 part-time employees I mentioned. One that's a part-time scout, recent graduate from SUU. Her name is Kayla Olson, and you can move it off of this slide if you want to put a pretty picture. Yeah, that's great. She does a lot of our location scouting for us in person and helps manage the website that we have that we share with the Moab and Monument Valley Film Commission. All the beautiful locations in the state, and I think we're approaching 2,000 locations on there. So I thought it'd be interesting just to see by show of hands, just like how many people in this room right now work currently in the film industry. Oh, good. That's awesome. And how many of you do locations? Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I did prior to working for the film commission. The first call we used to always get when I first started was, hey, you have red rocks, you have snow, you have, what's the weather like at this point in time? Now the first question is, what's your film and sound program? But what I'm really here to talk about is mostly our relationship with, what our office does. We're usually the first call because if it's a studio feature, and we work with everything, as Vika mentioned in first statements, that from, student films to studio features. We kind of have the philosophy of, treat everyone like Spielberg is what I was told when I first started. We want to make sure that we're, what we lack in film incentives, we try to make up for with customer service. And I know Vika does the same down here. So typically, we'll receive a script or a pitch deck or maybe it'll just be Terrence Malick that calls to talk about slot cans, just talking through what it is they're looking to do when they're looking, try and gather some information and then, hopefully sell them on the beautiful locations we have in the state or our film incentive program or, the fact that we're a short flight from Los Angeles and, that we're, pretty turnkey in the state. I don't know if you guys saw that Salt Lake City was named as, Movie Maker Magazine's top 25 places to live and work in the film industry. So this last year, which is a huge accomplishment, of course. But it's true, Utah is very turnkey. We have a long history in the state of making films. We're about to celebrate 100 years of filmmaking in the state with next year. And as you mentioned, you're celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission. Goulding's Lodge down in Monument Valley celebrating 100 years too. Our office is celebrating 50 years. And then we're also very fortunate to have partners like Sundance Film Festival, which is, arguably one of the best independent feature film festival markets in North America. They happen every year in our backyard, which both of our offices take full advantage of, during those 10 days in January. But yeah, I mean, well, I'll be here to help facilitate the rest of this. I didn't want to take this long to talk. I thought it'd be like a 2-minute thing, but yeah, we're essentially here. I like to think of our office as kind of the grease between the wheels. We're in between production and government. We're in between production and the community at large. You know, we're just here to help facilitate and make sure that at the end of the day, it's a positive experience. And there's a very popular quote that's in when Hollywood came to town book, if you guys have ever seen that book, that from a Moab rancher that says, you know, we love having Hollywood come to town because they leave nothing but money and take nothing but pictures. That simplifies it a little too much, but it's but anyway, I'm gonna turn the rest of my time over, but I'll be here for to answer any questions. But generally that's what we do.
Okay. Great, Brian Hunnings is the general manager of Red Cliff Lodge, Elise Park is the executive director of Red Cliff Foundation. I think I'll let you figure out exactly how you wanna break this up. I do have the statement that the board put together, but I'll let you all take it away.
Well, I'll speak first. Hi, everybody, I'm Ryan Hunnings, I'm the general manager of Red Cliff Lodge, and I just kind of want to talk about how this all started, how we got involved in this. And we took over the lodge from Colin Fryer, who I'm sure many of you know, still actively involved in the lodge, still thinks we're crazy for wanting to do this, but we just talked to him yesterday about that. But it was, we took over December 16th, roughly a year and a half ago. And on my 3rd day, actually managing the lodge, Jude Bain came in and said, "You have to meet Biga. She's the film commissioner." And I looked at her and I was like, "Oh, and I was like, she's like, "Oh my God, really nice, it's fantastic." And I was like, "We're here to help you. What can I help you with?" And she literally looked at me and the first thing she said was, "Can you get a film incentive pass?" And my response was, "Well, I can't personally, but I bet you I can make some phone calls and we'll see what we can make happen." And, you know, our owners are pretty well connected, and the one thing that they believe in as well as I do, you know, prior to coming here to Moab 2 years ago, I was in Hawaii and I worked at Turtle Bay Resort prior to working for the current owners that own Red Cliff Lodge now. And I'll tell you, has anybody ever seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall to celebrate his 25th anniversary? That was filmed in Turtle Bay Resort. Every year, thousands of people show up every year and want to stay in that bungalow that one scene was filmed in. Every year, 25 years later, it still happens. Flash forward at the lodge, we have this amazing little museum in our basement. And I can tell you, when it's slow, we catch a couple dozen people a day that come to see it. This time of year, we get a couple hundred people a day that come to see it. I can tell you that film tourism is huge. People are actively interested in what this area represents and what the people who put the films together here represent worldwide. This place represents the Old West to millions on millions of people. Our owners quickly realized the museum needed to be in a better space. So we started 2 things, actually. One of the very first things, and this is one of the coolest things and why I love working for the company that I work for, they very much believe in, ironically, regenerative kind of establishment, which is giving back to the local community. It's not just sustainable, it's about giving back and investing in the people that are in the community. Because that's where real change comes about. So prior to us even acquiring the property from Poland, that was one of the very first discussions. How do we get something that is going to be charity, 501c, and make it happen? And we're like, let's just do Red Cliff Foundation. Make it simple. What should it do? It should support the arts. I'm not going to steal any more of Elise's thunder. She's the executive director. But that was the first thing. Once we could make that ask, I literally called the owners and I'm like, "Hey, new to the state, what's the film incentive out here?" Because I know in Hawaii, you know, they give away a ton of money in Hawaii, but I see how well it works with them. And the reality was, well, there's nothing. And there's been no main films that have filmed in this area for over a decade. Yeah, there's a lot of things that sneak in, but nothing major. So we had a discussion, made some calls, and lo and behold, the legislature was open hearing a pitch. And Vita happens to be taking Mr. Costner around, pitching him locations. And so I got to talking to him, I'm like, I can't guarantee anything, but maybe you should talk to our owners, and maybe they can help you out. Lo and behold, next thing you know, we have half the state legislature coming down to the lodge. We have a private intimate dinner with Mr. Costner. The best Academy Award winning speech ever was never filmed. His impassioned plea as to what this film Horizon meant to him was overwhelming. And I think he really touched all of those legislatures' hearts. And lo and behold, here we are, a year and a half later, and there's a film incentive that's been restored, and you just saw the numbers for just Moab right now. So that collaboration right there between a government agency and a private business got August and I talking. And that's when August was like, hey, this might actually be a viable solution. It used to be that the film commission was under a 501c nonprofit. And that is how we started this. What is, you wanna go back to the question? Shall I?
I can flag them, so they also cover them if you have them on cover.
Well, the one that makes me chuckle every time is this a clear cash grab for Red Cliffs? And let me just clear up some stuff. So you saw that 10 million that was spent on hotels? What came to Red Cliffs was $170,000 out of the 10 million. So there is literally next to zero benefit for us other than getting a lot of people's hatred directed at us because they think it's a cash grab. Will we benefit from film tourism? Absolutely. But so will all of Grand County. All of Grand County. It is more than just us. It is important to diversify the tourism here. I know there's this love-hate relationship in Moab about tourism in general, but this is a great way to diversify travel and tourism. It appeals to a whole other different demographic of people who are just here to do slick rock or go into the national parks, and we don't tap into it enough. And that is completely why we are putting this out there. We will probably have more headaches than anything, if it happens. Our owners strongly believe that, like, are you sure you guys want to do this? And I'm like, we do this stuff all the time. We deal with problems all the time. If it happens, great. If not, it's not. We are completely fine with it not happening. What we do think needs to happen, and what there needs to be more focused on, is film. You saw how much one person has generated here in revenues to this town. Quite honestly, and I'm sure Kevin Costner is here, he would agree. If he literally said at that dinner, if Beacon hadn't made me look to the left when I was looking right, we wouldn't be here filming right now. And she had already shown him that location like 10 times. And he's like, that's what sold me on coming here. So that's really the importance of having a strong film commission and what it can do to benefit everybody.
Yeah, that was the main question. I think the other question is, what added value would putting the film commission with the foundation kind of provide to local film?
So I think that, that's the purpose of this, right? There's no hard proposal, as August said. What's really important for us is, like, what are the metrics that's important to everybody here? What do you guys want to see, right? We want more private and government location shoots. What do you want, right? The beauty of this is nothing exists yet. It can become whatever it wants to become based on everybody's input. And even if it doesn't come to the foundation, I think it's useful to have August be able to hear the feedback so you can all be better served. The foundation is going to support the film commission, whether this happens or not. We have legacy with it. George White started the film committee 75 years ago at Red Cliffs Lodge. White's Ranch. It is a huge part of our property. It's a huge part of our heritage. We will always support it. That's not going to change. It'd be great if it was there, but it's not. Fantastic. Our owners are going to invest $4 million in building a brand new movie museum. As part of that movie museum, it's going to have a 50-stage and theater regulation-sized movie. that will have a digital production office where people can come in and literally show their dailies as they film them on a regulation size screen. Any production that would film here, why wouldn't they use it? Any competition that the film commissioner would put together that would be open to kids that want to film, come on out and literally you'll be able to plug in your iPhone and project it on the screen. That's pretty cool, I think. We also have the benefit, I think, San Juan would love to be involved, but they kind of feel like there's this lockhole with Grand County and the Film Commission. That would also allow additional funds to come in. So there's a lot of good reasons why, and it can be what everybody wants it to be as far as recording and who's gonna be responsible, creating it. Let's do it. We're down for it.
The other question was, how would public interest and oversight be maintained if the film commission was managed by a private entity such as a regular?
Same thing, I mean, it would be however you guys want to design it. One of the asks from Grand County is if they wanted to have a council member on the board, done. They'll happily volunteer and we're happy to have him as part of it. However you guys want it.
And I think the follow-up to that is that whatever the agreement would look like would be bound by the contract, right?
Correct. It would be a contract, obviously the funding would be a salary because the TRT can only really cover salary and then like some tchotchke stuff. So that she gives out a swag. So I mean, as far as cash back, we can't spend it on Reckless. The Reckless Foundation isn't even part of Reckless anymore, it is its own legal entity. Elise was hired as a museum director, she's a cultural anthropologist, she's a huge background in expediting difficult conversations. Maybe you should be up here. But she has willingly taken on this role and really truthfully kind of spearheaded foundation, what it's gonna stand for, and I'll allow her to come up and speak about just what the foundation represents, because I think it's a cool thing. There's tons of things that go in, but not a lot supporting the arts, and this will allow us to do that. And the cool part about it is, it's partially funded by the Reckless guests. So they get an opportunity to just pay directly into it, and it's gonna benefit a lot of people.
Thanks, Brian.
Sure.
Yeah, so thanks for that generous introduction, Brad.
No pressure.
So I really just wanted to start off by saying thank you to the County Commission, to August, Viga, for even inviting Reckless Foundation to be at the table for this discussion. It's quite the honor. So the foundation, for those of you who don't know, we are a brand new nonprofit. Our mission is to support artists in our community and encourage participation in the arts, whether that's going to a painting class or enjoying live music outdoors, or even watching a movie that was made here, right? All arts participation and all deeply impactful for the participants and the artists. And so that's kind of really what inspired kind of the mission and the vision of the foundation. Because we are so new, I think I made August really nervous earlier because I couldn't answer a lot of hard questions, and I'm sure a lot of questions that you guys have in the room here. We're just so new, so all I can really speak to is kind of what the board has already put their signature on, which is really kind of minimal. But that's also a really good thing, because as we're establishing the groundwork, we do have this opportunity to engage in this discussion with the county, with stakeholders, about what this kind of partnership or engagement could look like as we build our foundation as well. So like I said, thank you so much for having me here, having the foundation here, so that we can kind of explore this. That being said, there isn't a whole lot of meat to what I have to offer today. I think what we can all agree on is that film is very clearly art, right? You're all creative, you all are in the industry, you understand this. And even if you're not, we all, I think, can agree on the fact that art is extremely influential, right? There is a power to art, and I think that's all why the stakeholders who are involved in this feel so strongly about their positions, because this is a truly influential, art medium. And it influences our daily lives, it influences our community, and it influences our culture, like Brian and Vika kind of mentioned, alluded, everyone who lives here kind of knows, our location is really meaningful to a lot of people because of the films that were made here. And that legacy is going to continue, even if another film was never made ever again. That legacy is here. And I think here to stay, as Brian was mentioning, that the industry is just, going in the direction that it is. So anyways, so I think all of that is really to say that it goes without saying that we strongly believe, like Brian was saying, that the film commission is incredibly important to our community, to the state, to our nation, to the world, as we want to see the film commission supported in the best way possible. And so we're very happy to be at this table, in order to hopefully play a role, in making sure that the film commission gets the support needed to move forward in this country.
Thanks, Lee. Use that as
Yeah.
we'll pick our discussion. It's hard to read if these are yeses or no's, so I'm just gonna go through this here. Alicia Marquez, is that a yes or a no?
No.
Okay. We got a strong maybe from Visa Tunks. You want to get us started?
I like what I've heard so far,
Okay.
actually. Think, there's a lot of potential. I don't know. I have no reason to feel like it's a that and the history is here and the Horizon project, which I worked on last year, is right there. It's timely. It's maybe even direction. So, it's food for thought. Well, could I ask a question?
Sure.
Does it take it out of the hands of the county and the city entirely, or?
If it was to kind of become an entity outside of the county, I would say no. So the way that county commission has directed this conversation is that if it were to be kind of outside of the department, outside of a literal, okay, the salary and benefits out of our HR payroll, it would be bound by a contract, right? So that contract has terms like for 1 year, if it performs well outside of the county, great, you renew that. You have to report XYZ, the numbers of economic impact, what kind of films came into town, how many people did you talk to, how many jobs, local folks were benefiting from that. As well as, oversight from myself, from the county commission reporting back to the county commission. And at any point, the county could say, hey, this isn't working out, we're gonna bring it back. And it would be up to the terms of that contract, which would really be defined by public input and by this process. And so,
A trial period.
yeah, it could be very much set up in such a way where it's, let's try this for a year. Written in such a way, then, after a year, it's not working out for everybody involved, let's try something else. Did that answer your question?
And go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I think part of the proposed proposal would also be to include, Bill has been nominated to serve on the board of the foundation, so there would be a human also responsible for that oversight, representing the
And the county's not gonna supply your tax dollars to any entity that they don't have some oversight over.
Right.
So they're not going to just.
Here, have fun, right.
And there's other commissioners that could speak to that here tonight as well. That is our duty to guard the tax dollars that come in from, whether it comes from TRT or from the citizens.
Thanks, Miso. So, and it says here your local crew, is that right?
Yes,
Just for the record, awesome.
yes.
Did we get your question answered?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, this is good. I'm glad we're having dialogue.
All right, next on the list, Nancy has a M, which I'm interpreting as a baby. Nancy,
I didn't fill out that correctly.
Okay.
I will make a comment. I'm your guest here and I'm not even sure what's going on. Welcome. It's so surprising and it's my first year on the show and we'll take and a couple things I would comment on is a little abstract, probably not feeding into what you're doing here is the word stabilization. It's really, I was recently in the Middle East, and they are bringing money to the Middle East to stabilize the economy. You know, not that long ago, it was bringing money in, but now I'm hearing that phrase. I've been in Georgia for the last 10 years. It's changed the culture of Atlanta, and Atlanta has a pretty strong history culture. But stabilizing the economy. So anything that grows what you're doing, is reasonable to me, and as a location manager that reaches out to film offices, yeah, we just want more and more. We want more incentives, we want more of your time, we want more of you doing our work for us, we want the answers, we want you to go get the answers. And that takes people that are willing to do that and know that, and I don't know what kind of resources a film office has and how you folks put that together, but we ask a lot, and I don't know how you put it together with one little entity. I will say sometimes with government entities as well, because we are the arts, right? It's like putting a square peg in a round hole. It is nice when you go to a film commission and they see their government the way that they have to, accountability, and but when they know what we do, they understand the arts and how cool we are. It's really quite up. And it's here.
thank you.
Add to that, if that's okay, because I'm so glad you brought that point up, because Inge and I both come from industry and we know how fast this industry has to move and how fluid it is. And it was a big shock moving over to state government and working for and seeing how slow and bureaucratic that process is. And, you know, and that's why I think, you know, we're good at what we do, because we realize the need and we try and, you know, we're adding the grease to the wheels, if you will, so.
We don't do slow work, correct?
No, you can't. It's a lot of money being spent in a very short period of time. And, yeah.
Thank you.
And as far as stabilization, I'm sorry to get off topic, but this Kia commercial shot during COVID, and that was no small feat, and that took a lot of convincing health departments and everything else. Like nobody knew what that was yet, and you know, they're so careful. And we were one of the first places in the country to have a commercial of this size and this magnitude film. You know, and that's a testament to, you know, the abilities of our state. Our business friendly approach. And, you know, and I think they filled some hotel rooms that were otherwise empty during that time, so.
Thanks, Nancy, for knowledge. Next up on our list, we've got cricket, with a strong yes.
Strong yes, rather.
Okay.
Everybody's talking about George White, he's my rival.
Yeah.
I own the cemetery. On this Sunday, I have to go home, but I hope it
Got you too.
Okay, so the word stakeholder kind of bothers me a little bit. I realize there's people who work for the companies, but honestly, the residents of this county and the landowners, we're all stakeholders. It's not just the people, because my grandchildren and my son are extras on Verizon. My brother Jerry White works for them. They keep our family, and so we're all stakeholders, even if we're not working directly in the industry. So I'm hoping that the name doesn't change. If it does, go to Red West. And I have this devil and angel on my shoulder. Number one, I don't think it should be privatized, and I know it's not a private bid. I think it should be the Grand County citizens, it's our, and it should be a joint effort with someone. But then with our county council, who tries to stop everything, Kevin Walker says in open meetings that we get to say what happens here, they're not supportive of the film industry. So I have a hard time even letting them have a say
If they don't, they're not positive, they're not supportful, they're showing all the money that came in on TRT money and they hardly give it to me. And they're the ones bringing the money here, the movies, the tax base. So I thought it shouldn't be private, but then we have this council, and we have a couple guys on there that have made some changes, brought some common sense, but we still have many who don't. They aren't for public input, they're for their little input. So, but and they hate tourism, and they said it, so I'm kind of, and there is the tourism that's brought in by the county location. And to see the museum, which is like my history over there, and I've never been there. So, but anyway, I like what I hear. I like the idea of a 2-year trial period. The only thing I say is you're saying that we have a county council person on the board. Well, it's one person and there's 7 members, that's only 1 vote. I don't know that that's a strong say, other than knowing what's happening. Okay, thank you.
Great. And it's reflect what you said to make sure we capture that. So I'm hearing from you that on one hand, you're hesitant about the privatization because outside of the hands of our residents, who really is where the benefit and control can come from. But on the other hand, there's a lack of trust or skepticism that the county commission would be able to exercise that.
No support, no funding.
Yeah.
No funding from our county.
Yeah.
And that's who's bringing in tax dollars.
Right, but I'm also hearing that you're open to this proposition with a trial basis, so long as there's oversight, continued conversation, and that there's respect for family heritage and that the people that should benefit are benefiting.
No change in the name. I hate changing the name. It's only changed 5 times. Well, I know, but at least this one explains it. But I was worried about only having 1 person that has 1 vote on the, you know, I mean, I think that. On the board.
Yeah.
1 person on the board.
Noted.
Worries me, 1 person with 1 vote.
Okay.
That person.
Thanks, Cricket. Okay, we've got Mac McDonald, the medium shirt.
I can, I'm not alone. I'm here. Mac McDonald, San Juan County Administrator. First, I'm gonna throw it out there, I'm not speaking for my commissioners, but I do understand where the commissioners fall, especially within the film industry. Commissioner Adams our Commissioner Adams in San Juan County was very instrumental in helping get this tax incentive passed so that we can promote more film, especially in San Juan County. Obviously, that's going to be our focus. But in the region in total, it's super important that we continue with this. I grew up in the film industry. You can't really tell by my looks. I'm not that cute type of guy that you can see on the commercial. But where I grew up as, you know, we had living in Moab, that's where I grew up, so similar area and as Moab in this region. What I did is we provide lumber. We provide lumber for some of the older generations for David Crockett movies that Gunsmoke. So all of these industries predicate these jobs and they get touched on that. And it's so critical with that is as we look to diversify our economies here and try not to be so tourism centric, the understanding that there's these other opportunities for our locals to participate in it. I worked on Maverick movies that out by Lake Powell. And so you get these opportunities, you know, as a young kid looking for jobs, and it's kind of hard to find jobs as a kid, teenager. Well, these were the opportunities that for us. And now, you know, we participate as cast members on some of these bigger movies. So there's a lot of these industries that these movies feed into. I appreciate Vega and everything she's done. She's been in constant communication with San Juan County ever since I've been here. I've been here about 4 years, working with her. And a couple of years ago, San Juan County, a lot of us just pulled our support out. Once it went fully under Vance County, just knowing the politics involved with 2 separate counties, a little bit different, can sometimes be a little stagnant. We really don't know where the film industry is going here, but I think it was pretty instrumental in making sure that San Juan County knew where things were going and tried to solicit that. As the staff, we would really like to see this be, under a nonprofit organization with equal representation from our elected bodies on that board, so that we can kind of help shape that. I'm not really worried about only having one member of the commission on that board representing Seminole County and not representing Grand County. I think it's important, when you look at public entities and art, there's some of the events here that San Juan County, we're fairly conservative minded in our county. There's some of those films that we would not support, you know, just by nature of who we are. But art is different, and art needs to be a standalone. It shouldn't be controlled and pushed and marketed by a political entity. It needs to be standalone, because there's things that artists will explore and act out or draw that government entities should not be pushing and trying to sway one way or another. Because you get into that political entities, you know, we're all bound by what the public sentiment is and what the public directs us to, and if not, you're not elected. And so taking it out of the arm control of the government is probably the best for it. Put it in the arms of the Vegas of the world that seriously can champion this, that know it, that understand it, that people will get it. Because that politician is there, it's election season, they're not gonna rock the boat. And so some of those things are gonna hold back on and not necessarily to, you need that opportunity for the Vegas of the world to go out and get it. It's interesting as I looked at the statistics in the film industry in general, you know, back in the day when they were filming a bunch of westerns or just films in general, there was a lot of film participation in Utah. As you look at throughout the years, statistically, we've kind of narrowed that down, especially in this area, Grand County, San Juan County, pretty limited on the films that have taken place. By putting it in a 501c, whatever it is, ABC, I think that affords them an opportunity to go out and market for films out further than just being local and waiting for films to come to us. When we go to these film academies and these film shows, Vega is there, and she's championing, as well as the state of Utah Film Commission, they are there as well, championing for films to come to Utah. But you need that champion going after and getting it. Other states around us, they're doing that. And that's why the films are going there. That was why it was so critical to get this tax incentive passed, because we are not competing with the other states. Even with the tax credits and the tax incentives that were given, we are still not top of the line in our industry championing for films to come to this state. We're still lagging behind. That kind of put us a little bit closer to what some of these other states are doing. It does not mean that we are number one pushing for films to come to Utah. And so we need that. We need the champions that can be local, that are unharnessed, unbridled, can go out and get it, whatever it is, and help us out, because it supports our economy. San Juan County, we're heavily reliant on tourism, but that, what I talked about growing up as a kid, we were supplying lumber and those type of things. When Kevin Costner approached us with Vega and met with our commissioners, met with some of our hotelers, that was one of the things that we were really keyed on, is, you know, these films, these industries, they bring more money to the county now. It's hard in San Juan County because we don't have the hotels and things like that for the Kevin Costners of the world to stay in. And so that's where I think that participation comes into play with San Juan County and Grand County in general, because we have to play within the region as they're coming in both areas. They may stay the night here, film in San Juan County. There are San Juan County residents that are participating on the set, just as well as there are Grand County residents participating on the sets. And so it's super important that we collaborate in that effort. Keeping it under political bodies, that makes it a little bit harder for that collaboration to take place, especially if there's certain feelings or whatever the case is. By sticking it under 501c, whatever, it helps that collaboration come through. And I appreciate the comments of, you know, not taking it out of the public realm. I don't think, you know, I've seen these film commissions work in other areas. I don't think if you're a participating member of a community, you ever lose sight of these things because they're important to you, so you engage in it. You know, when they're out at events, they're out at the park, slide and setting up their booth, you're engaged with them as members of the public. Or if you don't like the way things are going, they will have board meetings, and we can attend those board meetings and champion the cause through those board meetings. But through that board, and especially if it's very representative of all bodies or both bodies, then it kind of fosters and builds itself. It'd be interesting to see, you know, as August touched on, and the fact that, you know, we would have a contract. Same thing that Commissioner said is to give county funds to an entity, we would all have to have contracts with them. That's easily done, but it's important that that representation is there and through the contracts, we can make sure that that is there and supported. It's interesting on one of the slides that shows the pay, and Vegas asking for a raise, and I completely support it. You know, that she gets a raise, because you wouldn't believe the things that she does behind the scenes, just kind of on her own dime. When you looked at that list of those entities that were government supported and those that were nonprofit, the nonprofits were better to pay. They were able to pay more for those film commissioners in those areas because of the money that they can receive through the foundation itself. There's touched on the board here, is like they can receive other money funded, but I think there's also opportunities not only for the counties to participate in funding to them, part of our TRT or economic development funds. But there's also, I think, opportunities for, you know, as these filmmakers come to these areas to support also the film commission and donate money. I've seen it in films, and we had a film that was done there in Canada where they wanted to use the high school football field. And in that, they bought all of the high schoolers, the football team, new jerseys, new uniforms, new pads, new helmets, upgraded the whole entire stadium on their dime. So they gave back to the community. And I think we can set that film commission just like that. As these films come in, as they donate, and hey, you guys are awesome. We want to donate. We donate to your organization. Yes, there's a mechanism to do that. And that helps fund the Vegas of the world so that we can pay her appropriately and adequately to keep championing that film industry cause here for us. Anyways, I know that was a lot.
We had a comment actually on the film incentive piece. Derek, can you talk a little bit about the Rural Film Coalition and how the folks who are here will benefit from film incentive and how they can be a part of that fight up at the state legislature?
Yeah, absolutely. So, to give you kind of a brief overview of our film incentive program. When I started in 2006, I think it was, or sorry, 2007, 8. I think the Film Commission started the film incentive program in 2005, where, you know, it's been touched on. There's, I think, 70 something countries. There's 34 different states that were in competition with these incentives. And as Matt said here, I mean, ours is not the top of the food chain. You know, we have a very conservative program in the States. We only give back on, it's post-performance refunds that only gives back on dollars left in state that are applicable to Utah taxes. But we started off at $500,000 back in per year annually in 2005. It kind of worked its way up to cash rebate of 2.25 million. Then in 2011, it went up and increased again to a tax credit to hopefully, you know, garner television series work, because we had to fight every year in the legislature to get that cash credit or the cash rebate. We're now just over $20 million per year, but that includes 6.79 million of the tax credit program, 1.4 million in the cash rebate program, and then this new $12 million rural film incentive program, which was referring to. So we were just given that program for 2 years, with a sunset. That's and review, in 2024. There was some language, they tried to change the language of that and eliminate the sunset. Bill, you came up and talked at the, legislature, this, in the interim meeting, 2 weeks ago. And, because they were, as they're reviewing this $12 million, per year program, this incentive, the way it works, it's a tax credit similar to the 6.79 million that we have in the program. But is only applicable to productions that shoot 75% of their principal photography while in the state of Utah in a rural county. And so that's, basically off the Wasatch Front. So Weaver, Davis, Salt Lake, and Utah counties are the non-rural counties. The other 25 counties in the state all qualify. And so, that program, it's up for review. We're gonna hopefully have some numbers from, and one thing you touched on, the data collection, not really talking officially to those numbers. Our incentive program, when they complete the spend, the production then turns over its books to, an independent CPA that's licensed in the state of Utah. And they look through the entire books of this project, and they do what's called a sample audit. I think it's between 12 and 20% of the incurred costs. And they make sure that everything that the production's tagged as qualified Utah spend is qualified Utah spend. And then based on that, they say, okay, this is how much they actually spend. And then they're tasked with going through and we have it broken down by what kind of economic sectors are being impacted. So they give us, all the money that they spend on hotels, all the money they spend on fuel, all the money that they spend on local wages and that sort of thing. That's broken down. So once we have that, we'll have a better handle on, what the return on investment. Right now, there was an industry paid survey,
Study.
Thank you. That's, basically it's for every $1 that the state puts towards these incentives, the state of Utah gets 7 back into the economy. So.
So I think the main takeaway of that, there is gonna be a legislative fight on this.
Yeah, so
So the Rural Utah Film Coalition, because the state can't advocate for this.
yeah, so I'm under the governor's office.
Unless the governor puts it in his budget,
Exactly. Unless the
Then-
governor puts it in his budget.
then Virginia and Derek and all those people,
We can educate.
they can't advocate to go to the legislature and say, you must pass this, right? This basically literally.
I can educate you that every call that I get for anything with notes, the
Yeah.
first question they ask is, how much funding do you have? What qualifies for the incentive? And then we get into the creative part.
But there's the Commissioner Adams of the world who go to the state, there's the other
Well,
commissioners who go to the state, there's the Rural Utah Commission, and there's the Motion Picture Association of Utah, which lobbies for those things, which is, I'm a member
Correct.
of, so there are various bodies that can go and lobby for these.
The Motion Picture Association of Utah is the lobbying arm of the film industry, and they're.
So to wrap this piece up and get back to the public input, is that I'll send out an information, anybody who signed up, for how to sign up for the Rural Utah Film Coalition list, which is they'll send out call to action, we need you to write your legislator today for this bill, right? So if you're interested in supporting that.
And just to compare our program very quickly to the other programs in neighboring states, and I'll leave it at that. New Mexico has 110 million annually in their film incentive program. There's a bill right now to increase that. Montana, that's we used to have a television series Yellowstone from there. They filmed a little bit in Montana. Montana took that away from us with a $16 million, $30 million ongoing film incentive program. And then Arizona just passed a bill that will go into effect this September. They're going from 0 to $75 million per year in the first year, 125 million in the second year, and 150 million. So that's the competition we're against.
Thanks, Derek. Okay, so we've got everybody who said they wanted to sign up, so I'm gonna ask for a raise of hands to put a speaking order together. We'll ask the online folks to make sure if they want to make a comment. At 7:26, I'm gonna say at 7:50, we're gonna pause comment so that people have time to fill out that final survey, so we can capture everybody's comments. It's gonna be way easier for us to take that to the commission than commentary. We're gonna have this discussion, so please raise your hand if you'd like to make a comment, and I'll write your name down, we'll go in one order. So let's go over here with your name. Beth Ann, okay. Then, right there. Say again.
Jeremy Turley.
Jeremy. Chris Wall.
Put that in there.
Larry, the old guy. Who else is-
I mean, I'm just gonna, it's okay, I'm gonna make my comment right now. It's really, really, really important for commissioners to hear if you have issues right now, what the issues are. I mean, you guys have to lay it, you have to speak up. That's why we're holding this, and I will tell you, Cricket, this is public input. We, as a commission, asked for this to happen. So when you say we don't do public input, I disagree with you. We're here to hear the public. I'm asking you to speak out. We need to hear what you guys have to say. If you don't say anything, it's tough. I have to hear what you're thinking. If you like it where it is now, but you want it out of the county, but you want to see changes, you need to tell us that. If you want to see it go, and you don't want the county at all involved, you need to tell us that. You have to speak up, or do it during the survey. That's totally fine. If you're like, I don't want to speak in public, I don't want to offend, that's totally fine. But if you don't say anything and then you turn around and go, the commission's not listening, we are listening. That's why we're here. That's why we asked August to put this together. So please speak up.
Thanks, Rachel.
Yep.
Pat, any other hands? What's your name?
Kevin James.
Okay. Is he hand over here? Yeah, if they're in the room, online, maybe. Yeah, Mary.
The county commission did send a letter to the state legislators requesting that they support, saying we are in support of this bill. We have supported as a whole. We voted against, what the vote was over, at least 5 of the 7 commissioners agreed to support this.
Thank you.
So that was untrue.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, online, if the folks online would mind raising their hand if they want to make comments, then I'll note that, and I'll make sure that y'all have that in order. Robert, is that an indication you'd like to speak? Okay. Anyone else online? Okay, we're gonna go in person, and then, let's see, we're gonna give ourselves 20 minutes for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. So that gives everybody about 2 minutes or so. So I'll just be a little bit tighter on time, make sure we're on track here. Yeah. Yep.
I'm Beth Ann, I'm new to Moab, and I've been here, so I'm a resident now. And what I'm hearing is very interesting, and I do think I support moving in on the Red Cliffs Foundation for various reasons. The things that I heard here today were Matt saying of the differences in governance between San Juan and Grand County, and having more of a collaboration. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I heard Cricket, what you were saying about needing more board members and more potentially community members, because I think is what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding in this room is that I don't know when this is happening. I don't think any dates were laid out or what the transition plan is, but everybody's going to have to be very tactical about the transition and the hows, because if you don't cover those things that are being voiced here as a concern, then it's going to start to fall apart. And your transition will fall apart before you even get into your pilot program. So those hows and the whens are very important. Who's going to participate in those hows and to make the decisions about how this will be done are crucial to me, in my mind, my mind. Also, the other thing that I was thinking of is the money for the Red Cliffs Large Foundation, I heard some donations come from guests. Maybe, some donations can come from a movie that is filming here, but where does the rest of the money come from? And how is there a guarantee that the salaries, and the money needed for the movie industry will be supported by the foundation? So those are my explanations.
Well, I was just gonna say, August, did you want to address the?
I think you're capturing your comment, I've heard what you're saying.
Okay.
And I guess from a follow-up standpoint, I fully intend to utilize the list of the folks that have been involved in this conversation, say, hey, county commission meeting's coming up, we're gonna consider the proposal, please make sure that you're there, so that everything's kind of continuing to be in ongoing, but transparent. Think of that. Jeremy?
My name's Jeremy, Chris and I run a logistics film supply company. So kind of hasn't been addressed is why is this company decision? Because how the public feels, myself included, it feels like the city and feels like it's not needed anymore. Everyone's kind of consensus is that the industry is changing, evolving. And in my opinion, the commissioner is basically, in a nutshell, and I do appreciate her position. I think she's a concierge and a owner, managers, and a concierge that offers services, provides their, does whatever. Okay. Why would you take that within a private entity? It just feels like it's conflict of interest. We would never even think about putting our tourism commission at Moab Tourism. Never in a million years. Why are we doing it? And I think it's very, offense, and I want to think about the red list. Very, very poor timing, I think. These guys are very new, they're ambitious with what they're doing. And it's not a coincidence that Red Cliffs is at the bottom of the list of hotels. They are way out in the middle of nowhere. And I just don't feel it's the right place. If the film commission is in desperate need and needs funding, that's a whole different topic. It doesn't seem like that. And that's how it's coming. It seems like, hey, what are we doing with this? I don't know. I don't want to pay for it. The county doesn't want to pay for it. Maybe we can suck it up. And he even said himself, they get to a way, like they want that, they want that. Would love to see what happens in 2 years. Guarantee they're going to talk about this. Guarantee. We've been here a couple of years. What happens if the hotel goes away? Who these people are, what their intentions are. If it was, going prior, it would be, I think it'd feel like it's coming from the influence. It just right now it feels a little convoluted, a little but too many concerns.
Thanks, Jeremy. Super appreciate it. Crystal. Turn this on.
I'm Crystal, his other half, and I'm also second generation location manager. I live with my dad next, so I am very, very deep rooted in the community here. It's my livelihood. I work side by side with Vega, Derek. I've had many conversations with Bill. I came into this with a very open mind. I'm still trying to keep an open mind. I'm not for or against this move. You brought up some good points. I think that if it was ran properly, I think that there could be some benefit to it. But I agree with all of Cricket's points. I agree with all of Jeremy's points. You brought up some good points. It's not been discussed near enough. It just hasn't. I think that there's a lot of implications that could come from this for the whole community. My biggest question from the beginning, and I have addressed it, it wasn't really addressed here, is how do we make sure this isn't a monopoly for Red Cliffs Foundation? I have a very good working relationship with many hotels, many caterers, Sorrel River Ranch. How do we ensure that when Red Cliffs Foundation is getting that initial call, they're distributing the work to their competitors, to their competition. I am pro Red Cliff. I have worked so many jobs through Red Cliff Lodge. I have nothing against Red Cliff as a business, but as he said, it just seems really weird to put all the eggs in one basket at a business.
And you bring up a really good point, and I know that we're just gonna run through all the questions, but the idea, or, I just, I do want to touch on that though, because I feel like the role of the film commission is to be, you know, like, I'm not recommending any crew member or support service, or, you know, this is very specialized thing that only.
But
is,
you are a big company,
Correct.
so it's now like this private.
No, I understand, but we've both been educated through the ACI, and, you know, we're both certified film commissioners, and it's a code of conduct, you know, I mean, it's essentially.
But how do we ensure that it stays that way when it now goes to a private entity?
Yeah,
That's
no,
my
and,
biggest-
I agree with you, and I think that needs to be addressed. whether it's in the
Very
contract.
very accommodating, yes.
Yeah.
I think that is going to happen, the
Right.
contract needs to be very laid out and very clear. And then the price is, my opinion.
Agree. And I think I made some really great points, and I think what Brian brought up earlier is kind of more of this. The idea is, you know, this, the theme of all shifts, you know, they want to see the arts thrive. And, you know, and to be honest, you know, Red Cliff is a great place to stay. It's a horrible place to stay when you're film production. It sucks. There's no self-service. You have to, it takes 15 minutes to get up to the front desk from the, you know, does not hurt you, yeah. No, it's horrible. You know,
I'm hearing from any input, I wanna make sure everybody gets a chance.
sorry.
You're good there.
Yeah,
I'll talk
I'll-
to Dave. Thank you so much, Chris. Heard your comment there. There anything, I'm just gonna move to Larry, if that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
A lot more to say, but.
No, that's okay, we'll have an opportunity to pull it
Yeah, I
out.
don't have too much to say myself because you've already heard it from these two, I think. I'm Larry Campbell. I've been in the film industry in Moab for 40 years. Many of the items in Red Cliff's Lodge, I donated or acquired through other films. I've not been contacted by Red Cliff's Lodge for anything. I don't believe that it should be turned over to a private entity. I was on the film commission board for 14 years as a volunteer. I volunteered with Los Angeles for the Locations Expo, I believe 6 years at my own expense. Remote Utah mostly. I was with Lee Mondrish, and Derek was prior to Derek being.
20 years is the film.
And to now turn it over to a private enterprise, I don't believe it's the correct thing to do. It's a pure and simple not the thing to do. I mean, why should Vega or Brian or Richard Lodge have it? Why should Crystal and Jeremy? You know, let's make a decision. Who gets it? Do I get it? I've got way more, I've got 40 years, got way more years in than anybody else. So, sorry.
No, thank you, Larry. Kevin Case.
Kevin Chase, been working in Moab for 30 years. I travel mostly through my work, I do stunt rigging, some weird camera rigging, a couple other things. Some people have seen it. So knows all about it. I really think it should not go out to regulars. You know, there's been points made about it is a bad location, you're gonna have a super hard time getting production coordinators and UPM signing off on being out there. I know right now with Kevin Costner, it's great for them because they're out there already, but I don't think it'll be great for the future. I just don't see it happening. I also think the county should really focus on getting all the people in town, getting their names out there. The way the directory is now, it's a mess with, you get a call for a Salt Lake job, and you're like, well, we have to put you up there. It's like, says you're local. It's like, oh, yeah, I know that. And the same thing happens in here when they hire somebody out of that directory, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're the hotel. It's a really awkward way that it's combined. It may still stay the same, but I think the Moab and Monument Valley Film Commission should have their own directory, just like they used to. It's the best resource you give when you travel to a destination. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Kevin.
And then we got, Robert on the line. Robert, if you, turn your screen on and unmute, I'll try to. Unmute yourself, please.
Unmute.
All right.
So a lot of my questions were answered by other people in the audience, but I'm a filmmaker that has a residence in Moab. I've made about 55 feature films. I've worked with many location managers and producers that have done local projects. I've interacted with Bega and she's helped me try to bring projects there, but I haven't had a project yet land there. I've gotten to work with film commissioners from around the world in Europe, Italy, France, all throughout the United States. And I would say that Bega is top notch. I would say that I hear that you think that maybe there could be favoritism, but I feel that most film commissioners and especially Vega gets what's best for their production and gives them opportunities. She provides contacts, but I've never seen anything that she's directing our choices. And usually with production, it's like water that finds its least path of resistance, where maybe Red Cliffs Lodge would be logical for certain projects where it meets its needs, but there'll be a lot of projects that don't want to be as isolated at Red Cliffs Lodge, and they want to be in the heart in town of many of the other options. So I feel that with Bega, she's a one-woman band that does an amazing job. And I feel that if she had more resources, maybe an assistant, maybe another scout, maybe even an administrative assistant, what she could accomplish for your community would be unbelievable, because what she accomplishes now and the amount of hours and time that she spends, sometimes I can communicate with her in the middle of the night. She never stops. I think that it's been a journey for her to get the support that she needs. She's already someone that's proven that she can do a great job. She just needs the resources now to do even better job. And I feel that, yes, government can be involved, but I feel that for the film community, for them to get up to speed and have the resources with so many needs on their plate, it's not going to happen in a timely manner. And I think that involving somewhat of a private entity and some private funding will give her the resources in real time now to make a big difference. I feel that if you do give it a trial period of maybe a year or two to see what happens in reality, that could help some of your concerns that you voiced, because you will prove what will happen. But I feel to keep doing the same thing, for paying her at the level that she's being paid and also having the funding compared to other communities, I think the timing is now. A lot of other states are doubling what they're giving for incentives. And I think if you don't react soon enough, you will lose out on some of those jobs. I know that your state and Moab in particular is a very unique canvas. It's unique. I love it. It's so conducive to film projects, but at the same time, it comes down to economics, the incentives, and also the support that you give the film community. And Vega has done a great job all by herself. I could just imagine what she could do with more resources. You know, I've been fortunate enough to produce movies. I'm a location supervisor for 30 years, and I call it like I see it. And I'm telling you, the support, the digital files that I get when I request, when I come to town, just direct me to certain resources.
Robert. We're just running out of time.
Okay, no problem.
No, you're good. Thank you so much for your comment.
Yeah, thank you.
So we are here at the end of our comment period. I'm going to pull up the survey so that everybody's comments can be captured in a way that is useful for the commission's deliberation. So I'm gonna pull, copy this into the chat online. And then. So. This will link to the book form survey that everybody can fill out. I also have a physical paper version if anybody would rather do that. You can please raise your hand if you like a paper version. And I'll get you a pen if you need it. Can you keep your hand up, please? You feel free. Well, you're one. Last space. Anyone can I speak by? Please raise your hand if you want to take a version. Here if you want to be. This is all we have, so please take the rest of your time to fill out this survey. Grab some pizza, grab some Spindrift. Thank you all so much. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Phone segment. Further, people are going to hear Then if you're done with the survey, you can stay here. Feel good? Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I want to give you a big hug first. I see you out there reading the weeds, like I'm always like going somewhere, and then I come back and you're like gone. And I'm like, yeah, I would love to like have lunch or dinner with you. Like,
Amazing. I wanted to shoot that with flood.
okay.
Flood
Yeah.
in 83 and 84.
Yeah.
By somebody who really lived there at the time.
Well, I've had a lot of stories.
Let me tell you that,
Yeah.
river comes down the eastbound lane. Eastbound lane.
Okay.
It was
That's already happened.
If there was.
Yeah.
River, which means.
Yeah.
Happens, but I don't know.
It's pretty up like right. But
Well, it's gonna take that, and I bet money it's gonna. My boss is great. It's not, it's gonna slowly come up, and they're gonna see it, they're gonna go, oh, shit.
yeah, it's like.
That is right.
Yeah.
Was on this side, went under the cap. So the walkway, I'm passing it down the road, and driving next to it, that would be guaranteed. Guaranteed.
No, we're.
Actually, at things 5 minutes go by.
He's been over like. Well, I mean, he's like he's just been. That's how you know, no. Said that the first he's ever seen it. All the way on. Use the line, that line. That's only the last one. So we're like,
My husband, when I met my husband, he was in the river to the Navy. There's the high water mark.
oh yeah, the Noah thing said it's gonna be on the 9th.
So it's
Yeah.
Right. And it's, so you know where Hidden Lake is?
Yeah.
Instead of Hidden Lake, on top, we're right up there, on top. And on to west. And we went up there on Friday, and my husband and I, we had no we sold it. My husband's retired. Right. He's hiding on the mountain in the summer. He came home 8 whole days last year is all. Let me show you the sand snow is still on. This is looking up from our place. Look at how much snow is still up there. That was Friday. That is snow. And so right above our place, that's the road going above, going up to that right there's 2.5 foot deep up our road. And you can't go any farther. And actually, this is our property. So
Yeah.
That's nothing. We've never seen.
That's gonna be fun here shortly.
Yeah. So I'm just telling you.
Yeah. We've already taken the wagons up, we've already got the TVs down, the museum's like what plan C. So but we're ready for it. But the police has done a good job of getting everything cataloged and. So there's nothing really wrong there.
Yeah, you have that.
Yeah.
Someday, I can't, so I have a little request eventually, when Verizon comes out, my kid, my son, my three grandkids are in it.
It's like I know the great art, it's a cowboy, but I feel like we don't do that justice. Like I really would love to be like.
My dad. Five. Xanax, I don't think if you would ever check Xanax.
They don't know how to treat.
You can't never,